This weekend, Andy visits the Rosebud, Ryan rides a space whale, and we shoot our way through some bad translations. I'm Ryan,
I'm Andy.
and this is Weekend Rental, episode 169. All right, welcome back, everyone, to another episode. We're coming to you on the opposite side of that polar vortex. We've not
freezing our balls off.
Yeah, I don't need them anymore anyway. It's all right. But it is nice to see non-negative highs coming around the corner in the forecast. So,
yeah, I mean, the plus side of this was also seeing most of the country also,
yes,
or most of the center of the country, where like Nebraska and Oklahoma are like, what is this? This is unnatural. And it's like, yeah, this is every year here.
This is us for 2 months in the winter. But we've gone soft this year because it's too nice. Yeah. And somehow, well, I guess you don't usually end up with snow with super cold temps, but it's crazy when it's like there's an inch of snow on the ground and it's negative fucking 20 degrees. And I still have this feeling that like March, we're getting just wrecked with snow. There's no way Mother Nature lets us off with the winter we've had.
It's easy. Yeah.
But I mean, with a week and a half of these temps, maybe people will stop going through the goddamn ice fishing.
That's true.
I don't know how many people
actual ice out. Now.
Yeah. It's a good racket to be in, that water recovery. Like, this is the year. That's your business.
Guy with a winch.
Yeah. I think somebody died up in Lake of the Woods. Like, they had an ice house with like 10 people in it, and
jeez,
one dude did not make it out. Which,
jeez.
I don't know what you do, because like by the time, it's not like there's a hatch in the roof of those things. By the time it's under, that door isn't opening.
Yeah.
So you're kicking out a window or you're gone.
Yep.
It's wild.
Yeah. It's been pretty bad this year.
Yeah. But it's been good for staying indoors and gaming. And I wanted to just open up with a little something because I had extra time on my hands. Again, it was cold. So I finally, I don't know how many years it's been since you and I bought those, got around to taking my VCS out. And I hooked that up. And I played it.
What's that experience like now?
Who's that for? Like, I know we got it for $99. And as a flashback, it's a great Atari flashback for $99. But for the $400 they wanted for this thing, and the interface being what it is, the fact that it's been out for how many years now, and the store has like 144 games on them, and most of them are just like Atari
stuff. Yeah.
Or like, I mean, the best stuff is the recharged stuff and Atari 50. But why would I buy those and play them on like a crappier console? Not that the console can't run them, it's perfectly capable of it, but the controller is inferior. So and it's not portable. Like, I could buy all that stuff on the Switch. It's going to run just as good. It's going to have better controls.
Yeah. I do like the joystick for that thing.
The joystick on the like the traditional controller, or the like the Atari vintage one?
The Atari one. Yep.
Okay, I have not used it.
Okay. That one's pretty slick. The joystick also works as a paddle, which is pretty cool. And it just feels pretty high quality all around. But yeah, the regular controller, that just seems like a rebranded of something.
Yeah, and I guess like it's also lackluster. Like when you look at like the care that went into Atari 50, and then you get the included VCS collection 1 and 2, it just isn't as good. And then like the filter, I get the filtering. Like I know you have to do that to make it try to look like it would have aesthetically on a CRT, and it does a pretty good job. But it just all kind of looks like butt, because I guess it's going to. It's an old Atari game, but I just scratched my head at this. I was like, this is what you launched. Like, this was the platform. And there's some cool apps on there, right? Like I could do Antstream, I guess, if I wanted to pay for it, or I could do the whole, Game Pass cloud, but I also have a million other things that can do that better. I don't know why I would do that on this. I think there's something to be said. Like if I wanted to just easily fudge around with it, throw the, thumb drive in there and have Windows 10, so I could do the PC mode and have all my emulators and stuff too. Like great, it's all in one spot. But again, I have a million things that do that, and I feel like I don't know that it's worth the $99 I paid for it, let alone what they were trying to charge
Oh yeah,
people to buy this.
beyond the $100 thing, which I think when I got it, I don't even know if they had everything that they were going to release for it even out yet.
Okay.
I want to say there was still some stuff coming, so I haven't seen that. But like, yeah, if this was your only console, it can do a lot of things that on the periphery that would maybe make it worth it. But
yes. And you could
like you
do
said,
low end PC gaming, and you could update the RAM and do like pretty okay PC gaming.
yeah, but the people that this is going to buy it for, I mean, they're going to have at least another console.
Uh-huh.
Like,
yeah, it's a
so
really good way to play old Atari games, but there's also so many other ways to do that at this point. And then like who decided the power button goes on the back and that using the controllers doesn't turn on the power on the console? Like who thought that was a good idea?
I don't remember that. Wow, yeah, that's awful.
Unless I'm mistaken in pressing the power, I'm pretty sure it did nothing though. I mean, maybe if I had a plugged in USB, but yeah, I don't know. The form factor's nice. The presentation's okay. The startup was a little wonky. But I think that's probably going to go back in its box. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know when I'm going to use this.
Yeah, mine's not hooked up anymore. When you booted it up for the first time, did it take a long time, like on a black screen?
I didn't so much get the black screen, but I got the searching for updates and then installing updates, and it caught on. It was either searching. It must have been searching because that was step 3 of 4, and it sat there for like a good 40 minutes, and then you're right, it blacked, and it was longer than you'd be comfortable with, like probably 5 to 10 minutes, and then it did come back.
I did remember that part when I installed it, where it was just like I felt like I bricked this thing.
Yeah. And then there's some questionable choices too. Like I went into the apps. It's like, oh, apps you can do like Google Chrome. So you click that. Then you find yourself pretty much fucked because you don't have a mouse and keyboard hooked up. So you can't do anything with it. It took me like a good 5 minutes to figure out how to exit that thing, to the point where I was like searching for a wireless mouse because I just could not get it. So I was about to just power it down and hard reboot it when I hit some button that kicked me back out to a thing.
Wow.
But yeah,
that's weird.
It's probably the best way in a prepackaged bundle to experience Atari games for those uninitiated as a blast of nostalgia, but it in no way justifies its existence in any way at all.
Yeah.
It's just, it's fine. I mean, you could do some cool stuff in the PC mode. I totally get that, but it's sitting 2.5 feet from my like beast gaming PC. I'm never touching this thing.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
This is put it in a shoebox and bring it up to the lake cabin and like pull it out on rainy days or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And then searching for updates and you don't have internet there.
Right.
It's froze.
Yeah, that was a pain point where like after it installed updates, like it could not figure out the internet stuff for a while. Like I had to reboot it a couple times and it's like, oh, now it's working. And I don't know. The having to create a profile too seemed wholly unnecessary for a device like this. That's just my 2 cents, I guess. But I guess if you want to do the scoreboarding thing, it makes sense. But I can't. I've looked at the store and tried to justify a reason to spend money, and I just don't think I want to put any money into it. I mean, the only things I would possibly buy would be the recharged games in Atari 50, which I already own Atari 50.
Right.
So
there is like some cool part of it where you could have all of that on an Atari console like that, but it's not worth that amount of money.
No. And I mean, comparatively, there's that other Atari thing that's out right now that's like an all-in-one thing. And for the $99, we got a much better deal on this, but you know, I mean, okay, whoop-de-doo, you know. Speaking of this too, this wasn't a topic, but I don't know if you were aware, but we just missed out on Best Buy clearancing the shit out of arcade one-ups. So a lot of
Oh,
them got
really?
prices slashed, but in particular, not to the point where you would buy one, except for two items. I think it happened over the weekend, and I missed them both. They're sold out. The Simpsons arcade one-up cabinet with the stool and poster and riser was slashed to 150 or 140,
Mm.
and also the Mars Attacks pinball. $600
Oh,
reduction to 140, and I missed both of them. By the time I
oh,
saw the news that they had been reduced, they were gone.
they were gone. Yeah.
And I was like, shit, both of those would have so been worth $150.
Yeah.
But
That would be good.
but all of that
Especially with
stuff,
this tool.
yeah, for the stool, I mean, they charge like $70 for those things, which is
Yeah.
ridiculous. But again, talking about shovelware or niche systems that aren't worth it unless you get them at a severely discounted price.
Hmm.
So, I don't know. Did you have anything exciting happen gaming wise that you played while in between?
Oh, let's see. What have I been doing? Still been playing a lot of Lethal Company.
Okay. I've been watching some
So,
videos on that. I could see that being fun.
yeah. You want to try it sometime?
Yeah, I could download it for sure.
Yeah, that'd be fun. Yeah, it's still a good game.
Yeah, I like when you were describing it, like I kind of had a different like image in my head. Like I think the cartoony visuals of it kind of like dial the terror back a little bit, but then like
Oh yeah.
when you realize the nightfall is like the enemy and stuff, and it's like, oh man, that's a little scary.
Yeah, there's some horrifying stuff in there for how goofy it is too.
I'm sure.
It's pretty wild. Um Outside of that, I've had this game that I don't even it's not really a game. It's a clicker treadmill
Wow. You
type
like
thing.
those.
I know, I don't know why. But yeah, it's called Outpath. It's pixelated like 2D sprites on a 3D world that just generates islands.
Okay.
But it's gathering resources by clicking things and then, crafting things that make you click more damage. But then you get new islands that have new resources that take more clicking. So
Clicking.
yeah, it's
I don't know what you find appealing about these games. This one sounds better than the one where you just push the button, though. I'll give you that.
yeah.
Is this like a free to play on mobile or something? Or
No, I paid this. This was on the Steam sale. I don't remember what it was. Not too much, I don't think, but
okay, newer game or just one that's been out
I think
for a while?
it's new. It might be even in early access yet or something. I'm not sure, but
Okay,
I think
yeah.
I am close to beating it, but
Well, you got your money's worth then.
yep.
I speaking of beating games, I jumped back into a game you beat. We talked about I think last time, and that was Jusant. And I don't know about that. So here's what I did not like. I mean, it's all one of those games, right? Like it's the walking simulator, it's the journey, it's the brothers. What pissed me off is like you get like 6 hours into that game, right? And you get to the point where you're like kind of teetering on like, I think I've had enough of this. And I think the devs knew it. So even though you've not reached your end goal and gotten like 3/4 of the way up the tower, they just like do the whole cutscene insert to ride a magic whale that just takes you to the end destination. I was like, well, this just undermined everything I've done all the way up to this game. And then the way it ended from there just left me dumbfounded because it didn't really resolve the story. I mean, I pieced together enough to know that this was like an underwater civilization is part of the story you're picking up. And then the other part of the story you're picking up is like human or air breathing researchers who have base camps throughout, and you're hearing two
Yeah.
different stories. So you're like, okay, I kind of get like something, apocalyptic happened to the water creatures at least, but they don't really explain it well enough. And they don't explain why like sky whales are the answer. I don't get it.
Is that because it makes it rain. Is that the deal? Like it makes
made
the
it
water
rain at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so the little thing that's with you, that is one of the whales, right?
Yeah, I think it's a baby sky whale is what I picked
Okay.
up.
Yeah, that there was so much of that where I'm just like, you guys are trying way too hard to be super pretentious. When one of your collectibles is just like sit back and look at the surroundings and just like watch the wind go through these graphics right for a while.
Right.
Like I get a little bit like, oh boy, this is a
And
little bit
just
too much.
like I think what got me was like the last quarter mechanics where they don't change the core gameplay, but they insert like movable hand grips. Not because it's a
Mhm.
cool or fun game idea. It's frustrating, sucks, and I hated it. And then they like insert a double jump in the dumbest way possible, which again doesn't change your core gameplay. It just serves to slow you down. And I just don't understand that design choice. I mean, I think they nailed throwing that cutscene in because they knew that like people will bounce at this point. Like
Yep.
nobody's
Yeah,
probably
it was
wanting to go
definitely
on.
getting. I'm pretty sure in that when it got to the point where it was like the wind was blowing you around and you had to jump on the
Yes,
wind, that was the point where I'm like, how much left is in this game?
100%. And that's right where you get to it too. You know? Yeah, that's exactly where I was at. And what's shitty about that is like that's probably one of the most visually interesting sections of the game, and you
Mhm.
still just don't want to be there. And
Yeah.
honestly, let's be realistic. That stage is direct rip from Journey.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
that is like the fourth stage of Journey before you like. I
Yeah.
mean, it's
Yeah.
exactly the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know about Jason. I don't hate that game, but I don't know that I would recommend someone play through it either.
Yeah. I the climbing adds enough and gets enough different variation and interesting enough to carry it along, I think.
For a while, yeah.
Yeah, but then you have the things like you come to a Y, right? Or a fork in the road, and you pick the wrong one and you go to, one of the thing that has a collectible where you make the wall glow or
Mm-hmm.
you find some story bits or even like I said, that just the sitting back and watch. And you feel like you were slighted because you're like, I just feel like I took the wrong way because
Right.
the stuff that you're giving me is not rewarding to me at all. Like I don't feel like I'm gaining anything from it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I feel like the whole mechanic too of like if you want to, you can walk up and hook your carabiner up to the attachment point, or if you climb, it just auto does it. Like I feel like that was I get why they chose to do that, but it also kind of like undermines the like because it's very tedious climbing. So why not add the tedious
Mhm.
step of having to anchor your mount? Because you do for everything else. Like the mid hike mounts, you have to. So
Yep.
I
Yep.
don't know. I guess they had to like somehow explain why you could press a button and your rope came back. So I don't know. I whatever. If that hadn't been on Game Pass, there's no way I would have tried that. I am blown away that this made best or game of the year lists at all.
Really? Yeah.
In any way, a top 10 it does not deserve to be
No. It's
unless
definitely
you are a
try
moron and you've
hard.
never played one of these before because there are way better of these out there.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I did feel good about actually completing a game for a change, but I don't know. I probably should have picked a different one.
Yeah. Well, you got something.
I did. I did. I also picked up that Suka game or whatever because the fellas over at R3 podcast finally got around to putting out a new episode. So I
Mm.
jumped in the live stream and just listened, and that was a random recommendation. And I know that game is kind of like taking over Japan and whatever, and here too. But yeah, it's not bad. I mean, for $3, it's a good puzzle game. Pretty
Hmm.
simple. Just make
That
blobs into bigger blobs.
that's the fruit one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I like that those games can't go on that long. I mean, a round is only going to last you, 15 minutes or so. So it's not bad. Maybe people who are more skilled at it can go longer, but I don't know. You get a couple watermelons in there. That's kind of the end of the game. It is good though.
You have to pick that up.
There's probably like a million.
When it goes on sale, it's too expensive right now.
Yeah, $2.99 is real. It's an ask. You play anything else then?
Not really.
Okay.
Haven't been playing too much. My wife has been diving into the Dreamlight Valley expansion, which is...
I loved seeing that on this list again. It's like every 3 episodes we got to talk about Dreamlight.
We got to talk about this thing, yeah. So they're really raking you over the coals because what they ended up doing is you have all these main Disney characters on the island. You gain friendships by giving them different gifts, right?
Okay.
Well, all of a sudden this expansion comes out, and the items that they want for their quests and their gifts and everything are all of these resources that you can only get on this other island. So basically,
it's forcing you into the expansion.
Yeah, pretty much.
For how much?
I think it was $30. Yeah, so
for a free to play game.
Yeah, it's something. And then you go over there and all the resources that you had for like unlocking different things. They just use a different resource on that island, just because they want to control the progression.
Sure.
Which makes sense, but it's still like, oh boy.
It's scummy and obvious what you're doing.
Yep.
That's too bad. So she's still going to stick with it then?
Yeah, I think so. She's still locked in. So, yeah.
Speaking of wives, that reminded me of our awkward discussion a couple episodes ago. And a friend of the podcast, Brandon, had come up because we had made a pact when the Analog Duo had gone on sale that we were both just going to try to buy 2, and whoever could land them, we'd just sell the one to the other person, so that we made sure we got one. Yep. My bank just shit on me that morning, and like I could not get the override. I couldn't get the authorization to let US Bank charge my credit card on their site for some reason. So luckily he came through. Our duos came in. He brought it up. So that was really cool. I have not hooked it up. It looks neat. I've ordered it. I didn't realize that it came with no controllers. So I've ordered 2 8-bit-do controllers, which are back ordered until February. And he actually hooked me up with a few PC Engine games that he ordered in, like in a CD one too. So I can try that. So that was awesome. Shout out to Brandon. But I think what's funny is we did a little game hunting when he was up, and he had brought his girlfriend. And I think one of the stops we're at Rock 30, and he was like joking with me about the podcast. He's like, yeah, it's funny. I was, with that part where your wife's like, you're a bit much. He's like, sometimes I feel that way about her to his girlfriend. And she looked fully unimpressed. And I'm just like dying laughing, and then Brandon just quickly pivots. He's like, but in the best possible way. So, very smooth, Brandon. It was great. Good pivot. So hopefully
that's pretty good.
Hopefully that all got smoothed over after they went back home. But yeah, it was good to see him again. Weather was decent. Hit a few shops. Didn't really find much. Grabbed a couple beers though at the breweries, and that was a good time. So now I just gotta wait probably 2 years until I unbox my Duo, just like I do with VCS.
Just like here, yeah.
Hook that up. So.
Yeah.
But it's as you'd expect, I took it out of the box. It's a really nice looking product. So feels meaty, the way you'd want a quality little boutique console to feel. So
that's cool.
And I think with a firmware update, I'll be able to like tie in those 8-bit-do controllers without the USB dongles, which will be nice. So
did you bring them to?
What's that?
Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say I ordered one of the core graphics design and one of the PC Engine design, so I'll know like player 1, player
2. That's cool. So they make how many of different versions do they make?
There's 3 versions. There's just like the solid black, which would be the TG16, and then there's like the Core Graphics, which is the one I got, and then the white PC Engine one. So
Okay.
they're like, I don't know, they were like $30, not bad. And I think Brandon said I could hook up and use the USB controllers from the Mini, which I was like, yeah, but then I'd have to unbox that too. So, which I still have not done. So, shame on me.
Did you take him to the computer repair store?
No. He asked about that one when he came up. I was like, yeah, we will not be going there today. I was like, we pretty much should just hit pawn shops and Rock 30 because I can't imagine a lot of places in town have much for inventory anymore. And even the pawn shops were very picked over. The used a bit they added glass cases now, and they actually had several valuable retro games, but they were all like they wanted like an insane amount. It was like Pocky and Rocky, and it was like $300 SNES games. I mean,
geez,
eBay prices. You're not gonna do that.
Yeah.
So, it was cool to see what was out there though. So it was a good time.
Yeah, I haven't done that in a while.
It's defeating. Like you just walk in thinking like, oh, this is a waste of my time. Is kind of how I feel about most of it. I think I did buy. What did I find? An EverDrive game. I bought that Duke Nukem 1 and 2 and 3D collection. So.
Oh, really? Wow.
Let's just get the first 2 games, then Duke 3D, which is pretty cool for the EverDrive.
Yeah. Well, on the topic of physical games.
Oh, yes.
There's a lot of shit happening in that space where it just seems like in the next year, they're going to be gone, I think.
Yeah, Ubisoft's new leader is out there telling people to get used to not owning games.
Yeah.
And the news you put on was pretty shocking, I saw.
Yeah, a game, which is a UK-based of kind of like a GameStop, is not taking trade-ins, which seems like would be their main bread and butter.
Right. Because if you can't sell new physical games because those are kind of going away too, what are you selling?
Yeah. Right. You should just you have to rename the toy. I don't know. Like what?
Yeah. And that's like, that seemed like such a staple sort of like retro used shop based on, kind of the whole scene we came out of in the old YouTube, and everybody over there talks about game. You know what I mean? Like that is the place to go. So, what do charity shops then pick up the slack? I don't know. Like people are going to want to sell those games somewhere, and someone's going to take them if it's not game.
Right.
But it just goes to show you that the demand must not be there
to buy anything used.
Just not.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering. Because like when you go into a GameStop now, like they just don't seem like they have anything. Like T-shirts, it's like people just quests. They're not even right. So it's like, are people just not bringing anything in anymore? Then I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know how they even stay in business. I mean, the one we've got here in the mall is literally just T-shirts, a MetaQuest section, and then like knickknacks in the back corner.
Mm-hmm.
But then you wonder, how does a game survive if they're not doing retro? Because you go to GameStops, or you go to the Best Buys and the Targets of the world, and their game section is down to, I mean, if a Target has more than 10 games on hand for an Xbox or a PlayStation platform, it's odd.
Yeah.
The section's just not there. The Switch section's the biggest, and even that's maybe, I don't know, you have 30 to 40 titles to choose from.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I don't know what the future, I mean, it definitely seems like 2024 is going to be the year that the tides change, right? Like we already know all the retailers are going to be getting rid of movies. So if you're already getting rid of the movies, and then the places have said that they're going to do that, which is Target and Best Buy, their game sections in both of those stores, at least in our region, aren't physical games anymore. You're not going to the game section and shopping for games. You're grabbing a piece of paper in a plastic container and looking at it.
Yeah.
And that's, at that point, I'm just going to go on Amazon or on their website and order it. There's no point in going to the store to game hunt. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And if you think
I don't
about
know.
game, like over there, and maybe it's changed a lot. I mean, I was over in Europe 20 years ago, but like you just didn't see a plethora of video game options. I mean, it's probably become more mainstream, but like that has to be a huge blow to the gaming community at large over there.
Hmm. Well, and just, people who can't afford a brand new system,
Right.
brand new games and stuff like that. That's, yeah, you really basically wipe out an entire section of your user base. And that part specifically really sucks. And I think it's short sighted by the companies. But at the same time, I could see, them in the wake of every company laying people off, that one of them is going to make that switch that says, every game's digital only now,
Yeah.
no more. We got to make more money on this stuff.
Yeah, it seems like those industries that like really boomed during the pandemic are just like struggling right now because like Unity laid off like what 25% of its people, 1,500
Yeah.
people, and then like even like I follow a lot of skateboarding stuff, and skateboarding is going through the same thing because huge boom during the pandemic, and now like everyone's closing, like riders are getting kicked off, like teams are liquidating, and like the barracks is gone. They had to shut down the barracks skate shop,
Really?
like
Huh.
the indoor skate park, like that's being destroyed. So it's like everything that like recreationally did well, just had this unprecedented growth has just been now, I guess, recalibrating and then like into this new economy where people are even more afraid to spend money than ever. So
Right.
it's not even
It
back to normal. It's like,
swung the other way.
right, we're in like lockdown mode.
Yep. Yeah, it's a going from peak to valley is rough in a lot of these industries, I think.
Yeah.
Especially for, tech based where they have to have talent build up like that. That's rough to, just cut it all.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting what options you'll have to buy games when the next console generation comes around.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
I don't think I think Xbox doesn't make it to that one.
You don't think they're gonna like physical media, or you don't think they'll have a console in the race?
I think they might have a console, but I think
No physical
I
media.
think I think they're I could see them shutting it off this year even. Or
Yeah, I could get behind that. I mean, I don't know what they have to offer people anyway,
yeah,
even if it's digital. But yeah,
I did see like there was a quote because so Limited Run's doing that Felix the Cat, which
and
Biff,
Rocket Knight. Yeah, we can touch on that.
congrats Biff on the Felix the Cat remake. But
Yeah,
there's a there's also that Rocket Knight one that looks pretty good.
yeah, which I'm desperate for, but I'm never fucking buying it. I
Yeah,
was gutted when I saw it was Limited Run doing it because yeah, that's a series of games that have been so under the radar. I mean, obviously, in more recent years, they picked up some hype in the retro scene, but even so, not to the level that they deserve at all.
yeah,
And now to know it's limited runs, it's like, well, I'm never going to own that. So
yeah.
great.
But on top of that, he kind of came out and said, "Yeah, we're not doing the Xbox because
Yeah,
we don't think we're gonna make five. We're not gonna sell 5,000 of them." Like
right.
that's ridiculous. I mean, I guess it's true because you're most people are likely going to buy it on a different system, a Switch or PlayStation maybe,
Why not
but
at least do the digital version though?
because I don't think they don't get a cut of the digital.
Okay,
Konami is doing digital, so
interesting.
but yeah, so they're not doing any Xbox on that, and that was kind of like a red flag too, of like this Xbox physical stuff. The company that makes physical and can sell physical based on the missing out on it can't even sell it. So then, yeah,
Right.
they're in trouble, I think.
Yeah, it doesn't bode well for Xbox. Yeah, I was so pissed. I'm glad you brought that up about those two collections. Yeah, I'm with you though. Like, I don't get the Felix one. Like, it's a Game Boy game and an NES game. And they're well, I don't know if I've played much of the Game Boy one, but the NES one is fine, but I'm
Yeah.
not going to buy a $30 physical collection of that. The Rocket Knight one is totally worth it for 3 games. But again,
Massive value in that one.
yeah, I'm not doing it. Not for limited run. I'd rather just
Yeah.
download the ROMs.
Yep.
Bastards.
Yeah. They had quite a shakeup about some localization on some RPG that they were doing.
Oh, really? Just not done at all well?
They were kind of avoiding questions on if it was like who was doing the localization or if it was AI that was doing it, or yeah, it was kind of a mess. A lot of big YouTubers like on them, just like ripping them a new one. It's pretty good.
Speaking of AI, did you listen to any of that George Carlin AI comedy special?
No, is that out now?
Yeah.
Really?
It's pretty good, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, it lines up. I mean, he talks about topics that man wouldn't have talked about, because it brings in some newer politics and social commentary that I can't imagine he would have said, but the timing and the voice is close enough that you could be mistaken, and you will laugh at some of it. Like you'd be forgiven for not knowing it was AI. So
I wish he would have lasted longer than he did, because I wish I would have saw if he would have been the ones that would be, he was very left and liberal pretty much for forever.
Yeah.
But I wanted to see if he would have kept going down that train when he got older and older and older, or if he would have like, I'm getting off on the right wing train now.
Yeah. Yeah, because how old was he when he died? 60s, right? Like not.
I think so, yeah.
Not crazy up there.
Which that's a long time for a comedian.
Yeah, because all you have, who was that? I was watching some comedian. It might have been Bill Burr. He's like, yeah, like, of course comedians are all alcoholics. Like, look at the job. Like, you have all damn day. Like,
yep.
You do like 10 minutes work at the end of the night. You do your set.
Yep.
Like, yeah, it makes sense. Speaking of comedy, did you watch the Game Theory I'm Quitting YouTube video?
No, I didn't get to it.
Wow, is all I have to say. MatPat is not, I don't want to diminish anything he's done on the platform. They put out quality content, lots of it. But MatPat is all about theatrics. He's put out multiple update videos over the years where he cries, and it always feels so forced, like he's reading it off of a teleprompter, and this is no different. And it is so cringy and hard to fucking watch. And then he calls himself like Papa, like Papa Game Theory. Like the end is just so fucking bizarre and up his own ass. Like, okay, I get it. You've made these very successful YouTube channels and you want to walk away. Like, all right. Like that's what everyone's doing, but this should have been a 5-minute fucking video. Keep your tears out of it, or at least have it be genuine, because it's not genuine. Or if it is genuine, he's the most like, there's no way. It can't be. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, he's been an actor, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he's always been that. Yeah.
And it all culminated with like, we're keeping all the channels and I'm still working behind the scenes, but I'm not the voice of these 4 channels anymore, which apparently they launched like Style Theory, which I didn't know was a fucking thing. I don't know. I fell off the Game Theory train so long ago that
I always thought that was an interesting channel when it back in the day. And then I kept subscribed to it, and then I just stopped watching it.
Right.
And that was like when it got like unbelievably huge, and I just couldn't believe it. Like, I'm like, are these numbers right?
Right. Well, the thing is back in the day, like his production standards and level of like writing talent and all of that was at such a high level, but then, the playing field caught up with MatPat, right? Like,
yeah,
it's not that his work got any worse, but it became oversaturated with channels that could do that just as well. I felt like, I don't know. Have you noticed too that, speaking, I'm pivoting already, but the Completionist started uploading again? He's done like 3 videos, and then everyone, of course, because it's YouTube, is just like in the comments, like shitting on him, like, no, you should have taken more time. You should go away. It's like, okay, I'm not saying the guy didn't do something wrong, but at the end of the day, presumably no money was actually stolen. He fibbed a little, was not upfront, but the money still got donated. But like, even if all that was bad and it is illegal, he's not going to go to jail for it, right? So in what other profession could you fuck up your personal reputation to the point where your job is now impacted? Like politics, maybe, actor.
I don't know.
But you know what I mean? Like, okay, I'm a financial like consultant, and my off time, I do a charity gig, and like I did some fucky stuff with that, you know, and it's a little different because it kind of does tie back into like his numbers for his YouTube channel. But I'm like, I don't understand why people need to keep droning on about it on his thing, because of course he has to come back. He's still running a business.
Right.
He made a very morally questionable and poor decision over the course of several years on an aspect of his life, but like he should quit working because of that. I mean,
yeah, and it has nothing to do with his work.
100%.
Like it was a secondary thing that just no action was taken on.
Right.
You know?
So if that's what pisses me off about the whole YouTube platform, is like, if that's your angle and like you are done with him forever because of that, unsubscribe, don't watch the video, and don't leave a fucking comment. Like, let him move on.
Yeah.
The people that are going to stay are going to stay. Like, I don't get it.
Yeah, it's not Enron or anything like that.
No.
You know?
And again, not defending the guy. I don't know him fucking personally. I think it was a pretty not great situation, but
yeah,
I'm not going to be mad because he wants to keep on making quality content.
Right.
I don't know. Whatever. I didn't give him any money though, so maybe I'd be more upset.
That'd be different. Yeah.
Right. But the platform. It makes sense why the Matt Pets and the Game Theories and everybody else is bouncing.
It's just not worth it anymore, you know?
Well, and it was what I said years ago when I was getting frustrated with it. You know, I never monetized. But it's like, people don't think about it. Like, okay, you put out a video every couple of weeks. It's like, no, you do a bunch of work. You have to play the game. You gotta rub elbows. You gotta be in the community. Like, you gotta do the comments. It's not just make a video. If it was just make a video, that'd be a whole different thing.
Right.
It's exhausting for those people that are doing it at that level too. I can't imagine.
Yeah.
And then just watching the algorithm fuck you
just
every which way it can, right?
Yeah.
Because right now the algorithm's at the point where it's pretty much promoting AI channels, right? Like grab clip, top 10, computer voice, read script.
Yep.
And that's the platform.
Yeah. I'm about ready to ban it in my household because my kids are just watching it. I mean, they always end up on something like that where it's just garbage. Like, it was
shorts.
Yeah. Nobody even made it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sad.
Used to be a place.
It was a place.
There used to be a dream.
Speaking of a place, there's a place in Canada that I see you've got on your topics list, and I'm excited.
Yeah, the Rosebud Motel. I don't know if I've talked about this on the podcast before, but we're on our second time through watching that.
Okay.
Yeah. Amanda didn't watch most of it the first time I did. So we decided to go through that and rewatch that. Did you end up watching most of that?
I've gone through it. Yep.
Yeah, that's such a good show.
It is a really good show. It's a hard one to explain to people though, right? Because like it's not immediately good. Like you have to learn all the characters. You have to give them the first season to basically like set the premise, and then it becomes something.
Right. And I would not recommend it if you do not like cringe or awkward.
Right.
Or like bad people being
or
funny.
Like treating LGBTQ community with the same level of respect that you treat everyone else. Because like, the thing that I liked about the show that like I didn't expect going into it is like it is the most probably like open, unapologetic, and like genuinely well done, like queer cross through shows that was like mainstream, right?
Right,
It
because
it does queer culture like really well
yeah,
in a
because it's
meaningful way.
normalized. It's normalized as a normal thing.
Yeah,
It's not a token character.
100%. Like there's
Yeah,
real relationship there, and yeah,
yeah,
I don't know. It kind of makes the show better overall for it, I think.
yeah,
And I mean, take it or leave it. Like if you give a shit whether or not your people are offended or not by that whole thing, but to me, I was surprised at that aspect of the show, and I thought it was, and it's one of the better story arcs too, right?
right,
Like,
yeah.
I love, I love that ending where it's the last episode where he's like, "Oh, thanks for the massage." Like, what do you mean happy ending? I thought you wanted that. Why would I want that? It's just like so great. Getting a handy on your wedding day.
Yeah, it is. It is amazing though that you can be that like you actually feel that way, and like you're rooting for these people at the end of that
Yes.
series because
Right.
they are
They're
awful,
so
awful people.
It took
begin with.
so long to break like the ice queen for the sister, I think. Like for me, it took me a long time for her character to like come around. Like
Oh
it's
yeah,
really not until like that last season or two where you're like, okay, she's like had some character growth.
yeah,
Yeah. The only I think the weakest link of that whole show is Levitz's daughter, the diner girl. She never gets better at acting, and her character doesn't really ever grow. You just find out she's incredibly rich and then also stupid. She
yeah,
doesn't use any of her, her
yeah,
money.
yeah. That's true. They don't for a character that they feature quite a bit.
Right.
Yeah, there's not much there.
Yeah. It's a good show though.
Yeah,
Really good. I should go back through it too. We've been watching, it's been on a couple times, and I've watched an episode here or there, but I really should go back through it because yeah, it's funny as hell.
yeah, yeah. Christopher Guest as Roland. He's just
Oh yeah, he's the
guy's
best.
an unreal job at that character.
He is that character.
Yeah, yeah, it's true.
Did you ever watch like, I don't know where I saw it. It was like some like documentary. It might even have just been a YouTube video on him. They talk about how like he was poised to just like pop off, you know, because he was pretty big in the comedy scene. And then he's like, and then I did Cabin Boy, and then nobody would touch me.
I don't know if I remember that one.
Because Roland's the mayor, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Cabin Boy. If you don't remember Cabin Boy, you are lucky. No, we should add that for a weekend rental.
Okay.
That will scar you for life.
Okay.
Yeah.
I remember him, the Scary Movie.
Oh, 100%.
That was like,
big one.
yeah,
for him.
his big one. Yeah.
Something. He's in Something About Mary too, right? Bit part. Am I crazy?
I could be. I don't remember that part.
He's been in a lot of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now all I can see him as is, even after watching Schitt's Creek, is just the weird brother from Everybody Loves Raymond, the wife's brother.
Oh yeah. Yep. Yeah. He was weird in that one too.
Yeah. Yeah. He's good at that character.
Mm-hmm.
What the hell was I going to say? Oh, I was just going to touch on this because I thought it was funny. Do you remember like in the like early 2000s, like Adult Swim days, they syndicated The Mighty Boosh from the UK and BBC?
Yep. Yep.
So like around my office, like everyone's obsessed with that old Greg character. You know, the guy
Bailey's from a shoe thing.
Yeah, Bailey's from a shoe, the mangina.
Yeah.
So I met my parents over the weekend and they hand me the remote. So I'm just scrolling through what's on and I see The Mighty Boosh is on. I was like, no way. So I click on it and it's the start of the old Greg episode. I was like, how perfect is this? So I made my like 67-year-old parents sit through that episode. And my dad was dying laughing. He's like, this is the stupidest fucking thing I've ever seen. But he like can't stop laughing. And then I just kept calling my dad a fuzzy little man peach all weekend. And then yelling, I'm old Greg, because I'm an idiot. So if you've never seen The Mighty Boosh, Just
Oh,
go on YouTube and type in Old Greg. You're gonna laugh.
yeah,
I mean, the whole
those
episode's great, but that his skits are the best.
yeah, those specific ones are just classics, yeah.
What you doing out here? Oh, nothing. Certainly not fishing. What's this? What's this hook doing in my head, mother liquor? Oh god, so funny. That yeah, that show, like when you watch it now, you're like, I can't believe that got made back then. And then like the whole hysteria of it too over in the UK to the point where like it was so popular the Mighty Boosh became an actual rock and roll band that toured and played
Oh,
shows. And
really? I didn't know
yeah,
that.
yeah,
Wow.
they were like huge, which is just bonkers.
Yeah. Which is weird because that like type of comedy isn't what I would consider British. You know, like that real random style.
Right. Yeah, they're usually a little more dry. They really
Yeah.
kind of like tapped into some like alternative, like Tim and Eric level humor.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. It's good though. I should go back and watch more of the series because I feel like you got a pretty short run on Adult Swim because I feel like they picked that up and they picked up Pee Wee's Playhouse around the same time and like for a summer they ran that shit and then it was just gone. So I don't know. Just don't know.
Yeah. Huh.
Well, I had one last thing. I'm looking at yours. No, we got them all.
Yeah. Yep.
Just like my Norway trip. So I've been talking about. Well, you and I think I've mentioned to you. Like I studied abroad over in Norway exactly 20 years ago, and I'm going back 20 years later. So my parents and I decided a few years back, after my grandpa passed, like he always like regretted not going to Germany while he had his health and stuff and visiting his homeland. My dad's always talked about Norway. I was like, well, I don't want to repeat, right?
Yep.
So I was like, well, let's stop doing Christmas gifts, birthday gifts. We'll kick money in a pot. We'll do, $50 per person minimum. Christmas anniversaries, birthdays. Everybody throws money in. We'll have a few thousand cover the flight, upfront costs, and we all kicked in more than the 50 and had the slush fund. Finally booked the tickets, doing it this year. And I was like, if we're gonna go, you waste so much time on the flying, right? Because you're wrecked when you get there, so you're losing a couple days up front. I was like, we got to go for 2 weeks, so we did it. We booked the airfare. It's locked in, so I'm pretty excited about that. It was not an insignificant amount of money just for the airfare, but
yeah, I'm sure
we had 90% of it banked, so it was good. And then I did pay a little more. I could have gotten by a cheaper airfare, but I wanted 100% refundable because I'm taking Iceland Air, and there is an active volcano. So let's say that thing erupts when I want to be going. I'd like to be able to get my money back from that at least. So pretty pumped about that. And
so do you have a plan for all 2 weeks, or do you kind of wing in some of it? Or?
We talked about it, and we felt like the best plan was to not have a plan, not like hook up with tour groups and go on guided stuff. Because like I'm fairly familiar with some of the area we're going, like around Oslo where I lived for a while. So the tentative plan is, and the weird thing is like when I had looked in the pricing, it was going to be more expensive to fly in and out of different airports round trip. For whatever reason, we caught an open flight coming back from a different city that ended up being like $700 cheaper. And so tentative plan is flying to Oslo. We get there. It'll be Sunday their time. And then we'll spend a week in the Oslo area. And then they say like one of the most beautiful train trips in Norway or Europe is Oslo to Bergen by rail. It's like 8 hours. So the plan is hop on a train, end of that week, get to Bergen. Bergen's on the very fjordy side, on southern end of Norway. And then we're going to spend a week there because that's supposed to be just like nature-wise gorgeous, surrounded by mountains, lots of hiking to do. And then we'll just do day trips here and there. And I want to spend a day going to the town that I went to school in and show my parents around, obviously. But yeah, pretty cool. I haven't booked the lodging yet. I'm going to try and do Airbnbs. I've been kind of just scoping out options because if you're, realistically, with the 4 of us going, it's going to be a hotel room. I mean, I'm not going to spend 2 weeks over in Europe sharing a hotel room with my parents for obvious reasons. So it would have been 2 rooms. So, you figure like, what, $300-400 maybe.
Yep.
So I can get an Airbnb for far less than that. And then I want to get ones with laundry. So I'm just going to pack like bare minimum,
Mm-hmm.
do the laundry, cook a couple meals, because Oslo or Norway was fucking expensive when I was there before, and I can't imagine it's any cheaper. So, but yeah, it's a tentative plan, so it's pretty exciting. We'll fly out of Bergen then at the end of the trip and come home. So, and luckily I have a job that gives me a shit ton of vacation. We got our vacation bank, and I think I had 45 days of vacation.
Oh, jeez.
So I scheduled this 2-week trip, took another week off, a few other days. And even if I carry over the 80 hours that I'm allowed to carry over, I can still take another 3 weeks off.
Wow.
So I'm basically a school teacher, except I get paid
Yeah.
year round.
Yeah.
Which maybe school teachers do too. I don't know how if they defer. Like, do you get?
I think
paid
you
out
can
12
do.
months?
I think you can do that. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I mean, I'm fortunate to have a very generous employer in that regard, and then the nest egg plan of saving for a trip like this is pretty cool. Now
Kind of paid off.
Now it's the logistics of, because we're not taking our kids,
Mm-hmm.
because I mean we could, but they're a little young for that. So now it's like, all right, how are we going to plan out the scramble, right? So it's like my sister and my nephew are staying behind too. So my sister, I think, will take them a week, then we'll bounce them off to. Luckily, family's close by, so
Yeah.
it's still a big ask though. But and then we got to get our will done, because I'm like, well, we need a like proper notarized will, because if grandma, grandpa, mom, and dad go down on the plane, probably need something in place for our kids. So
Yeah.
that's on the agenda. But yeah, I'm
Good thinking. Yeah,
excited.
you're planning.
Yeah, and I've started like reaching out to people again on Facebook that I remember from being over there, and I've gotten a hold of a couple of them that, for whatever reason, I could never like get in touch with them. I think it's the whole Vidge Jones Facebook profile.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
I had someone that was finally like, "Oh, I never put it together that was you. I just saw a bunch of video game stuff," and I was like,
Yeah.
that makes sense. So,
Yeah.
Yeah. Visit a couple old friends and
Yeah, that's cool.
and spend way too much money.
Wow.
It'll be worth it.
Luckily, you're doing that. I feel like I have to do that for Disney, and I don't really care to do that. But
And that's our next year plan, or the year after
Yeah.
the plan. I was like, okay, I'm gonna take 10 grand and flush it down the toilet. And
yeah.
I'd really like to wait until they had the Mario World built in Florida, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Next year, we're looking at, because you still got a little bit of a grace period because your kids, you tail on the younger end, but like we're getting like 13 and 11 next year. And I feel like 14 is like the I hate you age, or like we're getting close.
Yeah. Or
Maybe.
you're too old for Disney shit. Yeah.
Right.
Yep. Yeah.
So
Yeah, you're running out of time.
my daughter, like, you talk about Disney, she doesn't care at all. She's just like, we get to go to Universal, right? Like we get to go to Harry Potter. I'm like, yeah, of course.
I suppose, yeah.
So she's really excited about that possibility, and they were a little bummed that they don't get to Norway. I was like, well, you get to grow up someday and
Someday, yeah.
make your own money or go study abroad like I did, and then pay off the debt for.
Yeah. I did see tickets to Tokyo from LA for like less than $1,000, and it's like, wow, that's
wild.
That's so tempting.
Yeah, that is very tempting. My mom called me the other day too, and she's like, do you know anything about Spirit? I was like, yeah, I mean, it's dog shit. She's like, well, I can fly Spirit from Minneapolis to like somewhere in Florida. It was like round trip, like $120. And I was like, yeah, it's probably going to suck ass. There's going to be zero accommodations, probably no luggage included. And
you can bring your purse.
Your flight doesn't get canceled. Right.
Yeah.
That's what I'm telling her. And then she's like, well, Dad said he'd fly in a tin can for $120. I was like, well, that's pretty much what you're doing. So,
yeah.
But I'm not going to tell him what to do. So,
yeah.
So now I get to go on a trip and see if I can survive not murdering my parents for 2 weeks straight. I love my parents, but you know how it goes.
You'll be so sick of fjords, you'll never even want to be in lake country around here again.
I'm surprised my mom has even agreed to go with me, because so we went there and spent the weekend because I was gonna like sit down with them, finally figure out the timing, plug in the dates, get the stuff booked. And she made the mistake of making Swedish meatballs. And then all I did the entire dinner in front of my parents and my 16-year-old nephew and my sister was just constantly recite the NPR Shveddy Balls from SNL skit and telling my mom how I'm like, oh, I just love your big Shveddy balls. Like just big meaty Shveddy balls and like nonstop to the point where like finally all my mom said after about 10 minutes was like, I'm never making meatballs again.
Yep, 2 weeks.
Yep, you get 2 weeks of that. Good luck. From your man child of a son. I don't know. Are we? Have we rambled enough to get on to staff picks?
Oh, for sure.
You can go first. I'm curious about yours.
Yeah, mine's pretty small. I haven't been doing much, but one thing I did come across is this. It was actually in like shorts or these small videos.
Okay.
About this guy. I think he's a streamer. He's called I think his channel's We're Gonna Lose. And the main thing, at least the thing that I watch the most, is he logs on to these super serious like NASCAR games.
Okay.
And like just tries to be the most liberal person in there, and then like drives backwards and runs into everybody and wrecks the whole thing.
And then they booed him, I assume.
Well, I think there's a lot of times where he's just trying to act like play dumb too. He's like, who, me? Or like, I don't know. It is pretty wild.
So he's just made a platform out of trolling people.
Pretty much. And it's pretty hilarious. It's a specific group of people, the Southerners, that he's really targeting.
Is he just like screaming, let's go Brandon and stuff, or what?
Not so much that, but like talking about how NASCAR isn't a sport, it's a game, and just making fun of how Dale Earnhardt died.
Oh God. It's dark.
Yeah. I think my favorite one is he's anybody tries to pass him on the right on the high side, he just wrecks him right away, and he says, you can't pass on the right. Look at the DMV guidelines. Basically playing it like it's road rules, but I think he does do other things. I did watch him do some Civil War game. Must be a third person like shooter.
I've seen this guy. Yes, I know what you're talking about now.
Where he goes up to the guy carrying the Confederate flag and he just shoots him dead when he's on the team, and he's just like, I'm not handling any of this racist stuff.
I have seen some of those clips. I know exactly what you're talking about. Or he'll like try to surrender and then just like get blasted off the fucking line. Yeah, I have seen that. That's funny. It's got to be great until like you're like blocked from every platform and have to like create a new gamer tag or.
Yeah, you can definitely tell in some of the NASCAR ones, like they can figure out they know who this guy is now,
Yeah, I would imagine.
Yeah.
If you do any of that too long, people start to pick up on it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's funny. I'll have to look at more of those videos. I brought for my staff pick, I did the Onyx the Fortuitous and the Talisman of Souls. I think we talked about this a few episodes back where, that guy who did all those interviews on the internet that turned out to be just a character made a horror movie, and it finally was like available on Blu-ray on Amazon. So I was like, I need to see what this is about. That is a great movie. If you're the right person, basically like, it's a little too long. It could be trimmed down, but it is really funny. Like he's still like a one-dimensional character, but they did a really good job of like hiring a good supporting cast. So like his one noteness is kind of washed out by like a pretty decent throwback 80s, early 90s horror type movie with practical effects and like weird monsters and stuff. And yeah, aside from like some genuine laughs, there's some genuine creepy stuff and just pretty much a good time, I would say. So if you like that guy, check it out.
And you got it on, you rented it or?
I bought it on Blu-ray.
Bought it on Blu-ray
version, yeah. You can rent it. I mean, assuming it'll be on streaming, like more prevalent stuff at some point. Mm-hmm. But Yeah, it was pretty funny. And then I watched it with my wife, who had no idea who this guy was or the character he plays. So I don't know.
Yeah, did she catch on or not really?
She hated him. So she
Oh,
did
yeah.
not like the movie as much as me. She thought his character was annoying. I think the best part though is like so they win this contest to like perform like a satanic ritual because they're all like Satan worshippers and um like going through and it's like showing which these 5 people like which like entity they are. Like one person's a Viking, one person's like soul is a witch and whatever. And then they get down to Onyx and they like open the book so it reveals what his role is in this uh whole sacrifice thing, and it's like the virgin. He's like, oh come on. He's like, really? And they're like, are you a virgin? He's like, what? No, I mean, I kissed a girl once, and it just like, he just gets so bent out of shape about it. So for like the next 20 minutes of the movie, like while the rest of the story is progressing and the characters like discussing things, he'll just like speak out about like how he like grazed a boob once, like, and people just look at him like, all right, it's pretty good. If you look at Rotten Tomatoes, the reviewer scores are awful, but the audience scores are like 97%, and I would agree with that. If you were a person who likes like an Army of Darkness or Evil Dead or I don't know, Ghoulies, that sort of stuff, like this is going to be definitely for you. Or even what's that one like really old one? Dead Alive, like that kind of vibe.
Okay.
So yeah, I enjoyed it. $30 for a Blu-ray, enjoyed it. That's up to you. But if you can stream it somewhere or rent it for a couple,
yep,
check it out.
Yeah, that sounds good.
On to the weekend rental. So, weekend rental, if you're not familiar, it's a game we play for a given system each episode. System this go around is the Sega Genesis, and we played Zero Wing. And then Andy and I kind of give our opinions and we decide whether we would personally buy, rent, or burn this game. This one, again, is another one that was easy because it was available on Nintendo Switch Online. And it must have been a not North America game. Did it only come out in Japan or Europe? Or?
I believe, well...
The only reason I think that is because it doesn't have like the proper box art, which usually that's the case, but I don't know for sure.
I wonder if it came out in like PAL Mega Drive, because obviously it was localized. I mean, that's the famous thing about this was the terrible localization of all your base R belong to us, right? So it had to have been in English somewhere. Yeah. Right?
Makes sense.
I don't think we got it. It was never Genesis, though. No, not Genesis.
And this is a side-scrolling shooter. I don't know what to compare it to most easily. I would say Blazing Lasers is maybe a pretty close approximation. Not exactly.
Slower.
From a power-up standpoint, I feel like it's sort of in there. But yeah, it's I don't know. It's good presentation, opening cutscene. Good visuals otherwise, solid music, tight controls. It's hard to fault it. Like nothing about the game like stands out as a shooter is like this is leaps and bounds better than everything. But I also found it like really playable. Like once I got into it, I just leaned back and just kept cruising through. I mean, having unlimited continues and also having the ability with the Switch to like rewind helped, but I was impressed.
It's somewhat easy in some regards. I would say the shooter part, avoiding bullets in this game is not too bad.
Yeah. It's more the environment that becomes your real enemy.
Yeah. Let's just jump right into that part. Is it the second level or third level where there's these couple pillars that
yes, I think it's down? Third level.
How was anybody supposed to get through that? I don't know.
The timing pattern on that, you mean if you didn't die 5 times before you got it right, I'd be shocked.
Yeah,
that was That probably is one of the most challenging parts in the game.
I think it was. That was the
And
hardest part that I
they
came
really
across.
front load it.
And it was out of nowhere. It was just like, here's this thing. It's just these pillars that are falling down in different timing.
And the way the game kind of fucks you with that is like most shooters, there is a increased speed power up you can get.
Yeah.
So if you've been religiously collecting that, which up until then you've been in mostly open worlds, then you get to this point where you need precise movement. And like, if you've really done a good job of collecting your collectibles, you're going to overshoot and overcorrect. And it just gets super frustrating.
Yeah. I would say when you're max power or max speed, you do a tap on the D-pad and you go up 20% on the screen.
Oh, easily.
Like it's unreal how like
yeah,
it's really helpful in open world, but toward the end of this game, it really turns into just navigating mazes, and having the speed is a real problem.
Yeah, I feel like there's 3 distinct sections that just amp up the difficulty, and it's all level design, like you said. Those pillars around 2 or 3, and then it's like around 5 you get that stage where there are like robots that eat metal blocks out.
Mhm.
That is insanely difficult timing wise because you don't know where you're supposed to go.
Yep.
And then right at that last level up to the last boss,
Yep.
it's not so much that it's difficult to maneuver some of that, but it's the maneuvering the corridors with the enemies that are like pretty strong at that point. So they're throwing bullets at you that you have to avoid.
Yep.
And then there's that one hellish level too. That might be the robot block level or like the intro part of it where you're doing all those like upward and downward 45-degree angles, which again,
It's really tough.
probably not bad if you're at the slowest movement setting, but by then
Yeah.
you're fully powered. And like you said, you tap that thing and you're going up or
Yep.
down.
Yep.
And that becomes the real challenge.
Oh yeah, for sure. And usually, I don't know about you, but for me, it was the green power up all the way.
Yeah. Why would you
I mean,
not have
that's-
the homing power up? Right.
Yeah. Homing power up was pretty great in this.
Yes.
The options are indestructible. You actually can run into other things and block things, and
And it
Kills
has
them.
like an eyeball effect on the screen, or I mean, it
Yeah.
must be an explosion. I always said it was an eyeball.
yeah, it's pretty great. You
Yeah,
can suck
and I
things
liked,
in,
like,
hold them in front.
Did you get to that point where like 2/3 of the way through you like get a random like purple power up that you never seen before, and then it just makes you like mega like fire? It's like it maxes out your
Oh, I didn't get
shots.
that.
So yeah, then
No,
the
I never
green
got that.
the green thing becomes like a bullet that's about the size of your ship. You get 3 waves of those and it just like eviscerates the screen.
Jeez, and you get to keep that as long as you go. There's
Yeah.
like no timer on that. Wow.
Yeah, so the last probably third of the game I just ran with that. So like killing stuff wasn't a problem at all. It was just constantly avoiding
Yeah.
death from clipping into something.
I wonder if that's like a secret. Like you have to find secret spots to get those things.
I don't know. I
Or
don't
it
know if it
just
has
come
something
out
to
of
do
one of
with
those ships.
I don't know if it has something to do with like what you're picking up. Like, did you exclusively pick up the green like after you got it?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
There's a few times that you get stuck where the thing is like right where you need to go.
Yeah. 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 I don't know how I ended up getting it, but yeah, it was towards the last third of the game. Because
Huh.
I'd already gotten to the point where like, you're picking up the power ups and you get like 1-ups because you have so many of them.
Hmm.
Yeah, I would say where this one probably suffers the most is that it feels very derivative in like enemy design, and I don't think any boss was particularly amazing. You're like not jaw dropping boss. And in fact, in one particular case, that like blue orb guy that like shot the balls out, that was just bad game design.
Yeah.
Because when you have to move behind the enemy, but you can't shoot in reverse, like that's just stupid.
I sat down in the corner and the balls never got down there.
Oh,
like
really?
you could just
Okay.
shoot and redirect them. So
So I dodged and got behind him, and I was stuck back there for a good like 5 minutes until I could find an opening to like back through and get hits on him again.
yeah.
It was not good.
I mean that's a Konami boss.
Yeah.
They have a lot of those where it's like, here's this thing that has like arms that chase you, and you gotta like go all the way around them in a circle.
Mhm. Yeah, it's
That one was very rip off. The final boss, I don't know, that felt so anticlimactic.
right.
You're just shooting off different sections of this big ship.
And the only challenge in it was the 2 homing missiles that would come out, but you just had to duck every like 3 seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't even realize it was the last boss until like you just kind of backed off the screen, and then you're like, oh, that must have been it. And then you get congratulations, and then 8 California raisins come out and dance for you, and then that's the game with no explanation.
That's not a joke. That's what happens in that.
I don't know what those things are. I mean, they're clearly not supposed to be California raisins, but they sure as hell look like.
They sure look like them. Yeah. I mean, they're singing and dancing, so like I feel like they're trying.
Happy.
They're doing a rip off of it, but
yeah,
I there's no payoff to that intriguing story from the beginning. I'll say that.
And that cutscene is very good at the beginning.
Like,
I love how like unapologetically Genesis everything is. Like the cutscenes, the music, it just screams Genesis. So that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what I was gonna say? It reminds me of a little bit of is like Blazion in the way that like the environment is the hazard, because like that game is the same way, where that's a much slower moving game, but yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
I'm surprised I'd never played it before. I don't know about you, but I blew through it in basically one sitting. I think I popped on for like 15 minutes today and just like crushed out the last level. But
yeah,
8 total levels, pretty short for a shooter.
Pretty easy. I mean, if you die a lot, I guess it would be tougher in those later stages, I think, maybe. But if you don't have a homing.
Yeah, you could get screwed there. What's funny is like I played the first like few stages without even like remembering that I'm playing on a Switch, so I hadn't used save states, I hadn't used rewind. Then by the time it clicked, it was like, oh yeah, I can just cheese some of this stuff. So it got way easier after that. But yeah. Well, what do you think you give it then on the Byron Burn scale?
I don't think it's a strong buy, but I'll give it a buy, because I mean this type of game is in my wheelhouse anyway. So already it's getting bonus points.
Yeah.
But there's nothing that really sets it apart, I would say, to really say this is a great game. I can't think of one thing in here that I would be like, this certain aspect they did really well.
Right.
I guess like the sucking the enemy in for a shield is kind of something that I don't know if I've seen in another thing.
I didn't know you could do that.
Oh yeah, one of the buttons is like a tractor beam.
What?
And then you can grab an enemy and it just sits in front of you.
I played the entire game not knowing that. That's a Blazion thing too, then.
Is that in that game too?
Yeah, it's kind of like some of that. Okay. Wow. I should play it again. Probably make it a little easier.
Well, it's one of those things where it just makes your ship longer, and then all of those areas that you quickly have to move around, and the thing just breaks off anyway. You lose your shield anyway. But yeah, I'll give it a buy. It's not a strong buy, but I think it's if you have nothing to play and you're looking for a shooter, this is one. And if you have not seen those cutscenes at the beginning,
do it.
It's fun.
Yeah, I'm gonna buy it too. I think you summed it up perfectly. Like in the field of excellent shmups, this doesn't stand out in any way, but it's still so much better than like the average of the field that it's hard not to recommend. Like, I could give you 5 other shooters that I'd suggest you buy before this one, but I wouldn't not pick this one up and play it, because it is, like you said, like it's kind of refreshing that it's on the medium tier of difficulty level, because it's fun to just play a shooter where you can just cruise through and not just feel like you're gonna smash a controller. And I think that's probably maybe the highlight of this game for me, is just the playability.
Yeah, especially deep into the game too, where a lot of those games they ramp up the bullet hell like crazy, Yeah,
like Gradius 2, where it's like shooting through the intestinal walls as they try to engulf you.
Yeah. This I think this was an arcade game, so
really?
That would be surprising to see, like how I feel like you could go a long time on a quarter in this.
That explains the choke points. Then, like,
Yeah.
you need to die here so we can get the quarters.
Yep.
Yeah, well, that's cool. Yeah, fun one. I'm surprised we hadn't played it, but like I don't know how long it's been on there on the surface, but I had never tried it until this
Yeah.
week, so
It's funny that, it's such a meme thing from, forever ago,
right.
that it everything behind it is actually good.
Yeah. Just that one thing.
Yep. You think
Amazing.
it's a joke, but it's, the rest of the game's not.
Well, with that, that's another episode.
That is. You can contact us on the old email at weekendrentalpodcast@gmail.com. We're also on Twitter. And if you want to contact us on there, I'm sure we'll be available. But until next time, be kind, rewind.
Tractor beam.
Oh, I wish I remembered one of the other lines from that game.
Sweaty balls.